Today is Monday, October 28th. We'll catch you up on how the presidential candidates are trying to reach voters, and this time they weren't just in the 7 swing states, and what to know about hackers trying to access former President Trump's cell phone. Also, Israel has now carried out its attack on Iran, while talks for a ceasefire deal between Israel and Hamas finally started up again. Plus, a star-studded benefit concert for hurricane victims raised millions of dollars. NASA astronauts who were stuck in space have returned home, though one did have to go to the hospital. And it's already become the most watched World Series in years. We've got an update on viewership and one star player's injury. Those stories and much more news to know next. Welcome to The Newsworthy. All the day's news in around 10 minutes. Fast, fair, fun, and on the go. I'm Erica Mandy. Thanks so much for being here. You ready? Let's do this. The presidential candidates have mostly been campaigning in the 7 crucial swing states that may ultimately decide the winner. But they took time out from that strategy in the last few days. Both candidates were in Texas on Friday. Former President Donald Trump spoke with popular podcaster Joe Rogan for a 3-hour episode that was released Friday night, while Vice President Kamala Harris held a rally focused on abortion rights alongside stars Beyoncé and Willie Nelson. Harris held that rally in Texas, despite her campaign knowing she probably doesn't have a chance winning the red state. But as the New York Times pointed out, it's a more modern strategy of planning to capture memorable moments that could be shared online, where many people experience politics these days. And Trump did something similar last night. He held a rally at the well-known Madison Square Garden in the blue state of New York, with appearances by Elon Musk, Dr. Phil, Hulk Hogan, and more. Former First Lady Melania Trump made a rare campaign appearance as well. Ultimately, the candidates are looking to stay in the public eye with just 8 days to go until Election Day. And really, they're courting just a sliver of voters at this point who have not already made up their minds. So you can plan on the candidates continuing their efforts in those critical battleground states in this race, since it's still considered neck and neck. In fact, on Saturday, Trump was in the swing states Michigan and Pennsylvania, while Harris, along with former First Lady Michelle Obama, held a Get Out the Vote rally in Michigan. Harris was also back campaigning in Pennsylvania yesterday. Tomorrow marks 1 week left to vote. 2 major U.S. newspapers, the LA Times and the Washington Post, have decided not to endorse a presidential candidate this year. To be clear, we're talking about the editorial teams, or in other words, opinion journalists, who are separate from the paper's regular news side. Reports say a Harris endorsement was already in the works at both news outlets when the paper's billionaire owners pulled the plug. The Washington Post's publisher and CEO said the decision was out of respect for readers' ability to make up their own minds and a return to the paper's roots, though the decision breaks decades of precedent at the Post. Its news side cited sources who said the paper's owner and Amazon founder Jeff Bezos was the one who made the call. One board member resigned over it, and the union representing employees put out a statement saying the role of the editorial board is to share opinions and said this decision interfered with that work. Meanwhile, the LA Times owner, a billionaire with a background in medical technology, is now open about making the decision not to endorse any candidate. He also said readers should be able to make up their own minds. 3 members of the Times editorial board, though, resigned, saying his decision undermines the integrity of the editorial board, which did make endorsements in state and local races. Several news outlets are citing sources who say Chinese hackers targeted former President Trump, his running mate, Senator J.D. Vance, and people associated with Vice President Harris's campaign, and that they specifically went after data from their cell phones. At this point, it's not clear what data, if any, may have actually been accessed, but sources told news outlets it's considered an active, highly sensitive national security case. The AP reports the FBI has not confirmed any potential people that were targeted, but did say it's investigating Chinese hackers having unauthorized access to commercial telecommunications infrastructure. And the Wall Street Journal is now reporting a U.S. government panel will start its own investigation into this breach of several telecom networks. Some officials told the Journal they're worried it's part of a major spying effort on prominent Americans. The hackers have apparently targeted other people beyond well-known politicians and campaigns, both inside and outside the government. Israel carried out airstrikes on Iran over the weekend. It's the retaliation attack that's been expected ever since Iran sent nearly 200 missiles into Israel earlier this month. Axios cites Israeli sources who say the strike took out critical components of Iran's ballistic missile program, hurting the country's ability to produce new missiles and possibly keeping them from wanting to use its current stockpile in future strikes. That said, the Iranian military is just saying it damaged radar systems and did not mention anything about missiles. Iran said it doesn't want a wider war with Israel, but added it now reserves the right to respond. President Biden told reporters the Israeli strike only hit military targets in Iran, and he hopes it'll be the end of the exchange of attacks. Some U.S. allies are also urging Iran not to respond to this, fearing an all-out war directly between Iran and Israel. Already, Iran-backed groups, Hamas in Gaza and Hezbollah in Lebanon, are at war with Israel. Though talks between Israel and Hamas are said to have started back up again for the first time in 2 months. Egypt, which helps to mediate negotiations about a possible hostage and ceasefire deal, is proposing an initial 2-day ceasefire and exchange. So, to be continued. A star-studded benefit concert over the weekend raised more than $24 million for victims of Hurricane Helene in North Carolina. Country music stars Luke Combs and Eric Church, who are both from North Carolina, organized and led this Concert for Carolina Saturday night. The show also featured performances by James Taylor, Keith Urban, Sheryl Crow, and more, as well as surprise appearances by Nicole Kidman and Randy Travis. Eric Church told the crowd of more than 80,000 that he's never played a concert so close to his heart. He said he grew up in the mountains of North Carolina and has a plan to build 100 houses for those in the region who lost their homes. All right, we have more news for you still ahead. But first, a quick break. This episode is brought to you by Honeylove. Whether it's a fall wedding or the holiday season coming up, it's that time of year where we have more reasons to dress up. And listen, we don't have to live in fear of form-fitting dresses. With Honeylove, you can feel your best at every occasion. Honeylove uses targeted compression to enhance your curves instead of squeezing them. You'll feel hugged, not suffocated. I used to feel nervous every time I put on shapewear because I dreaded tugging at it all night long. Not anymore. I can tell you from experience, Honeylove shapewear does not roll down or roll up like others do, no matter how much you hit the dance floor. Plus, Honeylove has more than just sculptwear. They have incredibly comfortable bodysuits, bras, tanks, and leggings for everyday support. I'm literally wearing their Legging 2.0 as I record this because they are my favorite leggings in my closet. Treat yourself to the best bras, shapewear, leggings, and more on the market and save 20% off at honeylove.com/newsworthy. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off at honeylove.com/newsworthy. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them, so please support our show and let them know we sent you. Say yes to every adventure with Honeylove. Okay, now back to the news. The CDC is now recommending more adults get a vaccine that helps prevent pneumonia. The agency updated its guidelines to recommend all adults over 50 years old, instead of 65, should get a shot that protects against a bacteria that can cause pneumonia as well as other infections like meningitis. Part of the reason for the change, doctors say, is transmission has gone up since COVID-era lockdowns ended, even compared to pre-COVID numbers. Health experts add it's especially important for eligible people to get the vaccine before the winter respiratory virus season, since even healthy patients can experience serious symptoms. The good news is you only have to get this shot once because protection usually lasts for life. It's also worth noting the CDC recommends kids under age 5 and anyone with underlying conditions should get the vaccine as well, though it's already part of the routine vaccination schedule for kids. 4 astronauts who were stuck in space longer than they planned have finally made it back to Earth. 3 NASA crew members and 1 Russian were part of the SpaceX mission to the International Space Station. They were supposed to come home 2 months ago, but the return trip was delayed, first by Boeing's new Starliner, which had technical issues, and then by Hurricane Milton. When the crew touched down off the Florida coast over the weekend, 1 crew member did have to go to the hospital overnight. NASA didn't explain what the medical issue was or which astronaut went to the hospital, but the crew member has since been released, and NASA says all crew members are doing fine. The IT outage that caused chaos in air travel over the summer has led to a major lawsuit now. Delta is seeking more than $500 million in damages from the cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike months after an update crashed millions of computers worldwide. Flights around the world were canceled, leading to long-lasting delays and travel issues for days. Delta's lawsuit accuses CrowdStrike of gross negligence for pushing an update that crashed multiple Windows-based applications, leading to those delays and cancellations. CrowdStrike responded to the suit, though, saying Delta's claims are based on, quote, proven misinformation. The company also said Delta was trying to shift the blame for failing to update their own IT infrastructure. This is the first legal consequence of the CrowdStrike outage, which didn't just affect airlines. Banks, hotels, and other industries that relied on CrowdStrike cybersecurity software all had issues managing their businesses because of that glitch. It's already the most watched World Series in years. The star-powered matchup between the Los Angeles Dodgers and the New York Yankees averaged more than 15 million viewers for Game 1. And nearly 18 million people were watching the moment the Dodgers became the first team to win a World Series game with a walk-off grand slam. Now, those viewership numbers are the most since 2017 and up 62% compared to last year. Not only are the teams from the country's two biggest media markets, but also both have MVP candidates in the Yankees' Aaron Judge and the Dodgers' Shohei Ohtani. And in Ohtani's case, he's made this year's World Series a hit in his native Japan, too. After the Dodgers won the first two games in Los Angeles, the series moves to New York tonight. Ohtani did suffer a partially dislocated shoulder in Game 2, though the Dodgers manager said he'll play if he feels good enough. Stay tuned. That's it for the main news, so now it's time for Money Monday, when we talk about one interesting money-related news story. But first, this episode is brought to you by Lumen. Lumen is the world's first handheld metabolic coach. It's a device that measures your metabolism through your breath. As I've been using it, I've learned so much about how my metabolism and body works, and I love how easy and fun Lumen is to use. Again, all you have to do is breathe into your Lumen first thing in the morning, and you'll see what's going on with your metabolism. Then on the app, it lets you know if you're burning fat or carbs and gives you tailored guidance to improve your nutrition, workout, sleep, and even stress management. You can also breathe into it before and after workouts and meals, so you get real-time data and recommendations. Your metabolism is actually your body's engine. It's how your body turns the food you eat into fuel that keeps you going. This is the type of technology that used to only be available to top athletes in clinics, but now Lumen makes lab-level metabolic testing accessible. So if you want to take the next step in improving your health, go to lumen.me/newsworthy to get 15% off your Lumen. That's lumen.me/newsworthy for 15% off your purchase. Thank you, Lumen, for sponsoring this episode. Okay, now back to Money Monday. So you might not think of Halloween as a big holiday for spending, especially compared to the gift-giving holidays coming up, but more Americans are opening their wallets for the spooky day, with Halloween spending expected to approach record levels this year. The National Retail Federation, which tracks consumer behavior, said candy sales alone will account for $3.5 billion. And total Halloween spending, which includes things like costumes and decorations, is projected to reach $11.6 billion. That's short of last year's record $12.2 billion, but it will still be the second highest year for Halloween spending ever. People have invested significantly more money in the holiday since the pandemic limited Halloween activities back in 2020. Each year since then, total spending has topped $10 billion, which had never happened before. And even though inflation has limited some consumer spending in recent years, retail experts note the temptation to splurge on costumes, candy, and decorations seems to be greater than financial concerns. All right, thank you so much for joining us today. Be sure to follow or subscribe to The Newsworthy in your favorite podcast app to stay in the know every weekday. You can further support our work here by becoming a Newsworthy insider. You can listen ad-free on any podcast app. Just sign up for your free trial at thenewsworthy.com/insider. And Wondery Plus subscribers can listen to episodes of The Newsworthy ad-free in the Wondery app. We'll be back with even more news to know tomorrow. For now, have a great day.